Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to part 1 of a 12th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, it's time to bring you another winter update in 2 parts, and I shall get on with part 1 of the 12th and, can you believe it, penultimate winter update in a moment. We are nearly at the end of our journey now. We started these winter updates at the beginning of September. We've carried on doing them all the way through the autumn. We are now virtually at the end. We've just got this 12th update to do, and then one more next week, update number 13, as well as the final season 1 roundup. And then that's it. All that will be left to do then is release the forecast. But we still have a lot of data to show you. There's going to be, the next couple of updates are going to be absolutely crammed full of data. So there's plenty more to go. There's plenty more to get through before we come to the end of our journey. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into part 1 of the 12th Winter 2021-2022 update. Right, I'll get on with that for you in a second. Just say that the first video you see was our 7 AM upload. Going to be live streaming from 6 PM. So it's a Sunday live stream, and means we're going to do some long range. We'll show you a 10 to 14 day. We will do, we will do some long range as well. I think we'll show you some charts from the CFS of Beijing Climate Centre for Winter 2021-2022 in that live stream as well. It's going to be a Christmas update as well. I think the Christmas update will probably be released around 3-ish this afternoon, something like that. So that could be quite interesting. Update number 8, I think, for Christmas. So yeah, make sure you're around the channel sometime between the upload and this upload, part 1 and the live stream, probably around 3-ish this afternoon, I would have thought. It's when we release our 8th Christmas update. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on this Sunday morning, or whenever you're watching this video. Just say it could be quite a long video, so you can't watch it all in one go, then don't worry, it will be kept on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube homepage within the Winter Updates playlist, so you'll be able to come back, watch the video on demand whenever you want to do that. There will be a couple of breaks as we go along, where you'll be able to stop the video, pause the video, go away, digest what you've seen, and then come back perhaps a little bit later on or another day and carry on. So these long videos are designed to be able to stop them and come back after a little while. Because we don't want to overload you with so much information and so much data. But these winter updates have been absolutely crammed full of data this year. I think we've pushed it further than we've ever gone before with winter updates this year. We have covered absolutely everything. I wanted to go full throttle at these winter updates this year and give you an experience that you will never forget with these winter updates. I hope that I've been able to do that for all of you. But let's not start summing it up as though it's all over, because we've still got, this update, and we've got update number 13 to go. So there's still a little way to go before we reach the end of our journey. Thank you so much to Richard for the amazing winter updates gift and for data that you're going to see in this video in a moment. We're going to start off with a Swingometer. So that's the first thing we'll look at from Richard, so you'll be able to see how the Swingometer moved after last week's 11th update, if indeed it did. More about that in a second. Thank you so much to Richard for the Winter Updates gift. We're nearly at the end of Winter Updates gift now. We'll have a special gift for the Christmas, for the winter forecast, so we won't be seeing the Winter Updates gift too much longer. But thank you so much, Rich, for Winter Updates gift. I love it. And thank you so much to Shryan as well. Shryan Brown for all of the help on this video when we get to the sections that Richard and Shryan have help with. Then of course I will give them a really good shout out. Thank you so much to Richard, and thank you so much to Shrine. Thank you so much to all of you for tuning in and sticking with these winter updates once again this year. Right, okay, so the first thing we've got to do is bring you the Swingometer. So how does the Swingometer look after last week's epic ENSO special? What happened with the ENSO special in terms of the Swingometer and the rest of the updates? Well, remember, everything that we've covered so far is factored into the Swingometer. So all of the data you've seen up to the end of update number 9, the update number 11, get myself confused. All of the data you've seen up to the end of update number 11 is factored in within the Swingometer. And so this is how it is now looking as of 11 updates. So should we count this down? I know some of you are waiting to see the Swingometer again this week. So let's count this down, shall we? So 3, 2, 1. Here we go. And yes, we've seen a further swing to cold. We've seen a further swing from mild to cold. We are now, after 11 updates favouring a colder than average winter, with our winter updates by an amazing 60% to 40%. That is unbelievable. That is the biggest percentage for cold that we have ever had, within winter updates. And there we are. So 60-40 in favour of a cold and average winter after 11 updates. Wow, 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 wow. What about that then, everybody? Impressive. Most impressive. Yes, what about that then, everybody? Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Richard. 60-40 in favour of a cold average winter. But what's going to happen after this 12th update? You'll find out at the beginning of next week's 13th update. But there we go. What about that then, everyone? 60-40 in favour of a colder than average winter with the GavsWeatherVids winter updates after 11 updates. And, of course, 2 season war roundups. Right, okay. So that got us off to an exciting start, didn't it? Thank you so much to Richard for the Swingometer. Right, let's crack on then. We're going to begin this 12th update. We're going to begin, I'm getting myself mixed up with all of these numbers. We're going to begin this 12th update with the Stratosphere, with Strat data. So let's do it, shall we? So we're going to start off. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to calm myself down. I'm a little bit giddy after the Swingometer. Right, let's do this then. So we're going to start off with Strat data. This is how temperatures are currently looking at 10 HPA over the North Pole from the JMA, set against the long-term average. So the grey line is average. We can see that we're in a cooling time of year, of course. We will reach our coldest point of year in terms of the temperature in stratosphere over North Part 10 HPA at around Christmas, New Year into early January, and then the temperature will of course lift up through the rest of winter and into the spring. Now the black line shows how temperature's been performing at 10 HPA through this season, so we've been very close to average or even a little bit above through most of this season, but now that's gone a little bit colder than average with the temperature at 10 HPA for the first time. This season, we've seen the temperature drop just a little bit below average, around minus 75. It's only a couple of degrees below average, but it's down to around minus 75, something like that. You don't normally expect it at this point of the year to be somewhere around there, so around minus 72. So we're a couple of degrees below average. Not excessively cold, but certainly it's notable that for the first time this season, we have gone a little bit colder than average. Go a little bit further down to 30 HPA, which is closer to the troposphere. It's the same sort of story. Again, a cooling is taking place at 30 HPA in the stratosphere. We see the black line has now dropped under the grey line, so we are going colder than average. It was quite significantly warmer than average back in October. 30 HPA with a weakened polar vortex, but we're now just starting to see that PV begin to strengthen a little bit. The sun winds are just beginning to strengthen a little bit as the temperature in the stratosphere is getting colder. Let's have a look, shall we, at the temperature forecast of the GFS for 10 HPA over the North Pole. So there you see it. Temperature's gone down to minus 75, minus 76 over the North Pole. So shall we run through and see what's going to happen? Let's do that, shall we? And yeah, so we keep those sort of temperatures hovering around low to mid minus 70s. Not getting excessively cold over the next week or so, but definitely, you know, in the minus 70s as we go through towards the end of November. Moving into extended range with VGFS, which is from Metrocella, by the way. We see temperatures again continue to hover somewhere in like the low to mid minus 70s. Maybe a little bit of a warming starting to appear over towards Siberia, though, as we get towards the very end. That gets to 6%. We might start to see a bit of a warming starting to develop over Siberia. But, excuse me, but still generally temperature is around average, maybe, you know, either side of average, a little bit below, sometimes a little bit above, sometimes not excessively cold, though. There's no sign with this, that if we go back here, there's no sign that we're going to see an excessively cold stratospheric temperature dipping down to like minus 80 or lower, as we can sometimes get. So we shouldn't see that black line sort of crashing through the floor, but nevertheless, we're going to be quite close to average or below, sometimes a little bit below, maybe sometimes a little bit above. I'm not seeing anything overly dramatic, though, in terms of stratospheric temperature still, even going into the earlier part of the winter. In terms of these solar winds, they have got stronger. So you remember earlier on in these winter updates, we was talking about solar winds actually being weaker than average. They are now a little bit stronger than average. This is the extended zonal mean zonal wind forecast at 10 HPA from the ECMWF. So this line just here, this thick red line, is the average trend line for solar winds at this time of the year. The blue line is where we are right now, really, and then that's like the trend, the ensemble mean, I should say. So the ensemble mean with all ensemble members is above average at the moment, telling us that solar winds are actually stronger than average right now. As we get into the beginning of December, we do see quite a lot of scatter appearing, though. And by then, the trend line actually, actually goes back to the trend line. Just so you see how the blue line and the red lines kind of emerge, merge together. So we should see solar winds weakening back close to average, after being a little bit stronger than average at the end of November. What we do see, though, is that there are a few ensemble members that are going for a reversal of solar winds. These down here probably are forecasting a sudden stratospheric warming to occur early on in December. There is a lot of scatter in there as well, I have to say. So we have quite a few ensemble members up here that are really quite strong with zonal wind forecasts as we go through the earlier part of December. Equally, though, we have these ensemble members down here which are quite cold. So, it's a little bit uncertain. I think it's a little bit uncertain where things are going with zonal winds. That's like the strength of the polar vortex, essentially. A little bit uncertain how strong the polar vortex will be as we go into, December, at its roots in the stratosphere over the North Pole at 10 HPA. We can extend out further than that with some forecast charts. So this is from Copernicus.eu. Starting off with the ECMWF seasonal model. So what you need to know with this is that the dates on the bottom of the chart, of course, are covering the full winter period. So we're starting off here around November to December, January, February, March, for example. And the black line there is the trend line for the time of year. So, of course, solar winds should be getting stronger at this time of the year. We should be seeing solar winds powering up very cyclically at this point of the year. The blue line is the ensemble mean, and you can see that the ECMWF model is actually forecasting, or was at like the start of the month, at the start of November, was actually forecasting solar winds to be weaker than average. You see that from that blue line just there, with a few going for a reversal of solar winds through the course of December. This is November just here, so stronger than average, a little bit stronger than average in November, but by December to January, going weaker than average with the ECMWF forecast for solar winds. So the seasonal model does suggest a weakening of solar winds as we go through December, and then kind of reaching parity later in the winter with the trend line. Of course, that's as we're going in towards the latter part of winter and on into the spring. But the seasonal model was seeing a weakening of solar winds in December, interestingly, and quite a few like going for a reversal of solar winds down here, which again would be associated with a sudden stratospheric warming. JMA is a little bit different, though. So this is the JMA forecast from Copernicus for solar winds at 10 HPA. And with this one, again, the blue line is the ensemble mean, the black line is trend line. So a little bit weaker than average with the JMA for solar winds as we go into December. But then as we go on into January and February, actually the JMA is forecasting solar winds to go stronger than average. At the point of the year where solar winds are weakening, on average, the black line dipping away there, where the blue line, the trend line, is actually, that's actually going going stronger than average, going stronger than the long-term average with the JMA. So the JMA, if anything, is forecasting solar winds to power up as the winter progresses, which of course will mean that the polar vortex gets stronger through the course of winter. Again, there is a lot of scatter involved with that. Some probably members up here are going for like record-breaking strong solar winds. Some are going for like reversal of solar winds, probably via a sudden stratospheric warming. So a lot of uncertainty within that forecast, however. This is UK Met. UK Met is forecasting solar winds to be around average as we're going from November into December. Dates on the bottom, of course. See the blue line and the black line very much with one another as we go into December. And then perhaps a little bit of a weakening of solar winds as we go from December into January, going a little bit under the black line. And again, these ensemble plume members down here are ones that are going for a reversal as we get through into January. I don't think these long-range seasonal models forecast sudden stratospheric warmings all that well. It has to be said, even the better end of the range, like the UK Met and like the ECMWF, I don't think any model really forecasts and models the stratosphere all that well. It is always one of the big unknowns, with longer range forecasting. But GWD continues to be very interesting. We looked at this last month. So we see again the black line is the trend, and the blue line is the ensemble mean. Look how that it's a little bit of the blue line and the trend is like a little bit stronger than average as we're going through November. That's probably about right. But as we get through to December, look at this, we see a real drop out of the of the ensemble mean, with many ensemble members actually through December going for a reversal of solar winds. So GWD is picking up on something different with quite a dramatic. I mean, ECMWF is kind of with that, but not going to the same level. But the GWD does pick out quite a dramatic weakening of solar winds through December, and a lot of ensemble plume members going for some sort of sudden stratospheric warming and a reversal of solar winds as we go through December and into January. By the latter part of winter, we start to reach parity, but solar wind does power up, gets back close to average, but never all that strong. To be honest. But the GWD, the German model, looks to be picking up on something a little bit different compared to the others, and indicating a greater chance of a sudden stratospheric warming during, I think, particularly sort of later December, but anytime through December into January, a reversal of solar winds. So the GWD is a little bit different. Right, that's what you'll take everything stratosphere-wise. This is how things are currently looking in terms of the Arctic oscillation. So the AO observed and forecast is looking like this. Remember, the Arctic oscillation is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It doesn't drive anything. So in terms, it just tells what the atmosphere is doing. When the AO is positive, we've got low pressure over the pole and over the Arctic. When the AO is negative, we've got high pressure blocking over the pole and over the Arctic as well. So the current position with the AO is around neutral. It's going to go negative through the last week to 10 days of November. So that's associated with an increasing risk of colder weather, of course, across northern Europe that we're going to have over the next few days as we see an increase in the northern blocking signal. Around the 1st of December, this period just here, we start to see the AO beginning to go positive, and quite strongly so. So after a negative AO through the final week, 10 days of November, it looks like we get to the beginning of December, and the AO starts to swing back into positive territory, which will probably be associated with an increase in low pressure over the Arctic and over the North Pole, and maybe a powering up of the polar vortex. The NAO is very similar. Again, the black line shows we're big with the North Atlantic oscillation. Red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles forecasting the NAO to go. The moment we're around neutral with the North Atlantic oscillation. GFS ensemble showing that we're going to go negative with the NAO during the final week to 10 days of November. So if the AO and the NAO going negative, that is a signal for colder weather through the last week to 10 days of November. But then again, we see it, we get into early December and the NAO is also forecasting forecast to go positive there. Now, you remember a couple of years ago in 2019, 2020, we saw something very similar happening. That's the polar vortex of doom winter. And you remember that through most of the autumn of 2019, we actually had a negative NEO, especially an AO, especially in October and November of 2019. We got more or less to the first day of the winter, and on 1st of December, first day of being tropical winter, we suddenly flipped from that negative AO NEO combination to a positive AO NEO combination, powered up the polar vortex of doom set in. And we never looked back. We never had a negative NAO again, or AO, until the end of the winter. So hopefully, you know, for those who want a colder winter, hopefully we are not seeing history repeating here. But it is a little bit strange, I have to say. I am scratching my head. But we're seeing virtually on the day of the first day of December, but, you know, we're seeing both of those indexes pushing up towards positive, which is something that happened a couple of years ago. This is showing negative AO and NAO phases, and it just highlights what happened in 2019, 2020, a little bit of a history lesson. So where we've got the blue, that's the negative phases of the AO. We're still going to get the AO, but the NAO would be very similar as well for this. So this is showing negative NAOs where we've got the blue, positive NAOs, positive AOs, I should say, where we've got the red. And you can see that through, you know, like the second half of 2019, most of it, we actually have a negative NAO. That's 2019 to 2020 just there. Virtually on the last day of November, it's the first day of December, we see the AO suddenly going extraordinarily positive, and then that takes us through the rest of the winter. And that positive, you know, that red spike, that positive AO is indeed the polar vortex of doom. And there you see it. Since then, we haven't really had all that much in the way of negative AOs, I have to say. So we get one little period just there. That's late in 2020. Another one here, early in 2021, with the rather colder winter. They've been through a long, prolonged period of positive AO condition. Just in the last month or two, we've gone a little bit negative with the AO. But it does appear as though we are probably, or have anyway, been in quite a prolonged positive AO period, actually, which of course is something that happens cyclically. We go back to like so let's go up to here, 2008, 2009, and then on through 2009, 2010, 11, 12 to 2013. We see a lot of negativity of the AO through that period. That's a colder period from like 2008, 2013. Of course, there are milder interludes as well. There are periods that are positive to the AO too, but generally that's a more negative period of the Arctic oscillation. And since then, I think we've generally been quite positive, really. Since around 2014, have seen a lot of positivity of the AO, and especially so probably from around 2018 onwards. But I say, these periods do happen. Up here, we can see that we went through quite a prolonged positive period of the Arctic oscillation from like the late 90s into the early to mid 2000s. This period just here from like 1999, something like that, to around 2007. That was quite a prolonged positive AO period. And then, of course, the arc turns. We get to 2008 and we start to have much more negativity of the AO. Conversely, there's a period of negative AO conditions that we go through during the mid-1990s, around 1995 to 1998. Plenty of negative of the AO. We keep seeing these signals. So again, we see a very positive period of the AO here from like the late 1980s, from around 1988, middle of 1988, right the way through to, let's say, the end of 1994. We have a lot of positivity of the AO. That's a very positive period. Conversely, this period just here from, actually we go up a little bit with this. So this period just here from like the late 1970s, just there, you see a lot of blue there, negativity of the AO during that period, and that carries on. So that's like late 1976 onwards, right the way through to, let's say, 1987, when we get a lot of negative AO condition. Conversely, again, here we see from like the middle of the 1970s through to 1976, generally positive with the AO. So the AO and the NAO is very similar. I won't show the NAO, but both the AO and the NAO, negative and positive phases, do come in like cycles, or seem to come in cycles. And how long do those cycles last? I suggest a lot of the time they are lasting sort of 6 or 7 years. Now, our most recent positive AO cycle coming back to business, our most recent positive AO cycle probably sets in around there, late in 2013 to 2014. It's probably gone on really to where we are right now, with a few exceptions. So I reckon that's getting on, you know, for like about 6 or 7 years. We are probably due to go through a period of more negativity of the AO, and the same is true of the NAO, to be honest. But whether that will happen this winter, of course, is a big unknown, and something that we've got to answer. I found that interesting, everybody. That's a little bit different, wasn't it? Something a little bit different that we never looked at before in our winter updates. A little bit of the AO and the NAO. Right, I'm going to pause the video there, and when we return, we're going to continue with what are we going to continue with? It's one of those days. We're going to continue with part 1 of the 12th Winter 2022, 2021-2022 update. I shall pause it there, and I shall see you in around 2 seconds time. See you very soon. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to resume part 1 of a 12th Winter 2021-2022 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you've enjoyed the video so far, and please smash that like button, make sure to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids, and drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to continue with the epic 12th Winter 2021-2022 update. We're going to begin this second section looking at the QBO, the quasi-binary oscillation. And just to confirm that the easterly QBO is continuing to strengthen and move further down into the troposphere. So this is from NASA. This is showing the levels of the atmosphere. That's 10 HPA just there. That's the stratosphere, of course. We just talked about that in section number 1 in terms of the North Pole and the Arctic. You know, of this video. 30 HPA to 50 HPA, this boundary level just here, is where we call the troposphere. And the colours here are depicting like westerly and easterly QBO phases. So the last proper westerly QBO phase was back in 2018-2019 just here. We had a failure of the easterly QBO here from 2019 to 2020, or through 2020. Really, and the westerly QBO sort of came back in 2020-2021. Now this blue-green area shows that the easterly QBO has strengthened and descended from the stratosphere into the troposphere. You can see the very clear descension of that easterly QBO phase from the strat down to the troposphere. If we zoom in and go over here, we can see that, yeah, you know, so it's a proper easterly QBO. This is a strong, mature easterly QBO, which has now more or less reached the boundary level of around 50 HPA. Just there, which, you know, 30 to 50 HPA, that is properly into the troposphere. Up here, we actually see the westerly QBO appearing at the very top of the stratosphere. That's not going to impact things for this winter. That's probably the start of the next westerly QBO phase that we will see descending from the stratosphere to the troposphere, probably in around 6 months or so. But for now, for the next few months, and certainly for winter, the easterly QBO will continue, and this winter, of course, will be a strong and a mature easterly QBO winter. There's no doubt about that, no getting away from that. So the easterly phase of a quasi-binary oscillation goes on. Of course, we explained in one of our earlier updates through reanalysis and analogues that when you're in an easterly QBO, when you've got an easterly QBO for winter, you do increase the chance of a colder than average winter. Right, this is how the solar disk is looking on outside of this day from solarham.net. So we've got two little sunspot regions, one there and one there. However, solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days. This is the GavsWeatherVids Winter Update Solar Activity Tracker, updated by Shryan. Thank you so much to Shryan Brewing for updating this for us. And the orange line with the orange spots is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. You can see that we are at a pretty low level for sunspot activity at the moment. We had a spike up there and another one there. So through this season of winter updates, we have seen a couple of big spikes in activity. But overall, averaging it all out, I reckon we're still pretty weak, you know, considering we're coming up to the end of the second year of solar cycle number 25. I reckon we're pretty weak. We explained in our solar special that we appear to be still with the weakest of the solar cycles, or we did when we did update number 7, which was some time ago now. But I don't think there's been all that much change on that general position. So I think this is still a pretty weak solar cycle. You can see the latest sunspot numbers, you know, for each individual day are down around there. So we are getting sunspots. Most days do have sunspots still at the moment. We haven't had a spot this day since back in October. So it is a little bit more active, but at a low level of activity. And actually, we have seen the 7-day average, which is the red line. We have seen that reducing a little bit over the past week or so from up there to down there. Of course, the 7-day average is going to move around quite a bit. The 30-day average, green line, is still lifting up a little bit, and that's primarily still, I think, down to the spike that we had, you know, a couple of weeks ago and whatnot. But I reckon we're still at quite a low level of solar activity. It's still a slow start, solar cycle 25, which is something that you saw, you know, we saw that a lot with solar cycle 24. Thank you so much for Shryan for that. Now, let's see, who am I today? Oh, am I Dame Judy? Am I Dame Judy? Suppose you turn me into Dame Judy. No, I am not Dame Judy. I am actually Piers. I'm Piers Brosnan. Richard has turned me into James Bond. 007. 00 Gav. Gav Bond. Maybe Gave Bond. Am I Gave Bond? I might be. Richard might have turned me into Gave Bond. Well, well, well. How about that then, everybody? I'm Mr. Bond. Shaken but not stirred. That's Gav. Right, let's have a look at the... I'm so sorry, but let's have a look at the data. So, spotless days and the current spot stretch. So, the current spot stretch is 0 days, given that we did have sunspots. You know, guessing, and we'll have them again today, but a low level of them. For 2021 so far, we've had 60 days without sunspots. That is 18% of the year. So, that percentage has gradually reduced and is now under 20%. That's still quite a high percentage for a second year of a solar cycle. It's higher than 2010, for example, which was year 2 of solar cycle 24. That was 14% of the year, 14% of the year. So it's higher percentage than that, 60 days. And yeah, so there we see it, you know. Still a little bit of a reduced solar cycle. This one, number 25, and very much on a par with what we saw in solar cycle number 24. Of course, it's comparable. Let's have a look at our solar minimum year, which was 2019. So that had 77% of the year without sunspots, 281 days. 2020 had 208 days, 57% of the year without sunspots. And then, of course, have 2021 60 days, and that's 18% of the year, but didn't have any sunspots. It's all kind of much on a par, you know, with solar cycle 23, 24. That solar minimum into a solar cycle 24, 73%, 71%. And then 14%. Very, you know, the two solar cycles, 24 and 25, are acting in a very similar fashion. Thank you so much to Shryan and to Rich for the data, and to Rich for turning me into Mr. Bond. I've been waiting for you, Mr. Bond. Oh, right, let's carry on then. We're going to have a look at the ocean data next. So, We've got our 4 areas of interest. Got the ENSO region just here. Got the Northern Pacific over there. We've got the Indian Ocean over here. And then we've got the Atlantic Ocean over there. That's how the oceans were looking at it last week's 11th Winter Update Part 1. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. At the very latest. That's it, then. So, let's deal with the ENSO region first of all. Now, there has been changes in the ENSO region. I mean, changes that we have seen are very interesting. You will notice that things have started turning colder over here in the eastern portion of the equatorial Pacific. So we've got this, that's La Nina. So we're going to have a La Nina winter. No getting away from that. No doubt about it. It's going to be a La Nina winter. But what we are seeing is that from earlier in the season, when the coldest anomalies, temperature anomalies, sea surface temperature anomalies, were just there through the central equatorial Pacific Ocean, central base La Nina, we are now seeing this La Nina starting to become a little bit more eastern based. Now, you remember last week when we did our ENSO special, we clearly demonstrated that to get a colder winter, a cold winter is more favoured by an eastern-based La Nina, particularly if it's weak or moderate rather than strong. Clearly favoured by an eastern-based La Nina compared to a central-based La Nina. You can still get a cold winter with a central-based La Nina, but the dice is loaded more towards a cold winter with an eastern-based La Nina. And the fact that we are seeing this very late change from central base with this La Nina to eastern base is, I think, very interesting. It's potentially a game changer, actually, for this winter. It's one of the reasons that I'd like to wait till the last possible moment, to release our winter forecast at the beginning of December. Some people release their forecast sort of September, even earlier than that sometimes. I like to wait till the very last minute, because sometimes you can get very late changes, and this is one of those very late changes, and I think that could be quite a significant development if it is sustained, if we continue to see this La Nina becoming more eastern based. In the Northern Pacific, very little change there, so let's just go back to last week. That's how things looked in the northern and northeastern Pacific last week. Cold PDO signature, this is the latest, very little change there. The cold PDO continues, and especially cold around there. That's probably good news for anyone who wants a colder winter as well. In the Indian Ocean, again, that's how things looked last week. This is how things look this week. Not much change. The neutral phase of the IOD continues. It continues to look a little bit cooler through there, a little bit warmer. What am I doing? It continues to look a little bit cooler through there and a little bit warmer through there. So neutral IOD condition continues. And then over in the North Atlantic, again, let's have a look at last week. This is how things looked in the North Atlantic last week. This is the very latest this week. Not much change, really. Still warmer than average, above average temperature anomalies in most parts of the North Atlantic. If we have a look at the 7-day change, this is how it looks over the past week. So things are continuing to cool up here in the northeastern Pacific, albeit quite modestly. In the Atlantic, things have continued to cool a little bit as well in most areas, to be honest. But because it was so warm to start off with, that hasn't made much difference, because it's only cooling by around half a degree or 1 degree. And it was like 4 or 5 degrees above average in most parts of the Atlantic. So we're still above average overall. The Indian Ocean hasn't seen all that much change, maybe just a general slight warming. The real change, and a significant change over the past 7 days, is in the equatorial Pacific, the ENSO region. Things have got a little bit warmer through the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, but at the same time things have got a little bit cooled down over in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So is this La Nina starting to become eastern based? If it is, that could be a game change. This is from TroubleTidbits.com, showing daily sea surface temperature anomalies. Each individual blue spot. And you see that for region 3.4, which is the central part of the actual Pacific Ocean, let's go back here, this area just here, let's highlight it, this area just here is like region 3.4, and we see from Tropical Tidbits that there is not all that much change in that area, to be honest. Excuse me. Excuse me. Not all that much change in that area, to be honest. But if we go to regions 1 and 2, and regions 1 and 2 is the area that's cooling down, we can see that we have seen a significant reduction in the temperature only there from around 1 degree below average, over about a week ago, to around 1.5 degrees below average now. It does look as though, it's only a few days of data, but it does look as though the La Nina is becoming a little bit more eastern-based. CFSV2 is backing off its strong La Nina forecast as well. You remember we looked at this a couple of weeks ago, and the CFSV2 with the black dash line just here was forecasting that we go down to around 2 degrees below average. That is being pulled up now. The black dash line is being pulled up to around 1.5 degrees below average at the peak of this La Nina event. So that's much more towards a moderate type La Nina. That may pull up a little bit more than that. In the end, we might do something a little bit like that and have a borderline weak to moderate La Nina, similar to what we had last year. But I always suspected that the CFS was overdoing the La Nina, and there we see it. I think we're seeing the CFS backing off its strong La Nina forecast now. Southern Oscillation Index, finally, for this particular section, and then we'll pause the video again. Southern Oscillation Index looking like this. Remember, the SY is just an index that's reflecting. Atmospheric state doesn't drive anything, so in terms just tells us what the atmosphere is doing, measuring air pressures between Darwin and Tahiti. So when you are in a positive phase of the SY, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina, meaning a negative SY atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. We see lots of positivity of the SY. I won't go through all of the numbers. You can see them for yourselves. Lots and lots of positivity of the SY, telling us that quite clearly, the La Nina continues. The ocean has coupled with the atmosphere, and so La Nina goes on. But the interesting factor, is whether this La Nina is going to become an eastern-based La Nina, and it does look as though it probably will do, and is becoming eastern-based, which is potentially a bit of a game-changer for this winter. Right, okay, we'll pause the video there, and when we come back, we can look at hurricanes data, and if that wasn't enough, we will look at Eurasian Snow cover as well, so come back for that. In around 2 seconds' time, I shall see you very soon, and we will continue and conclude this epic part 1 of the 12th Winter Update. I'll see you very shortly. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to resume the third and final part of part 1 of the 12th Winter 2021-2022 update. If you enjoyed the video so far, please smash the like button to make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. I shall not talk about anything else because we're running very late, so let's crack on. We're going to look at hurricane activity next. So this is the 2021 Atlantic Hurricane Season page from Wikipedia. This is showing everything that's happened through this hurricane season so far. So these are the latest scores on the doors, Miss Ford. Here they look then. 21 depressions, 21 tropical storms, 7 hurricanes, and 4 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. That is unchanged from last week. If we zoom in to this is a good depiction of what each one of these storms and hurricanes and whatnot have done through this season. So you see that nearly all of them have started off around here, here, and here in the tropics. You see that nearly all of them have, in one way or another, gone northwards. And this is the reason that we look at hurricane activity, because what these storms and hurricanes are doing, they're transporting heat from the tropics, and ultimately they are moving that heat up to the pole, up to the mid latitudes, and then eventually up into the Arctic regions. It's one of the ways that the Earth regulates its own temperature. The same thing happens in the Pacific Ocean as well. And that shows, the way each one of these storms and hurricanes has performed through the course of this season. Now, each one of these storms is depicting, or is giving its own individual amount of ACE, accumulated cyclone energy. I just want to show you this. This is the accumulated cyclone energy page from Wikipedia. So, one or two people have asked me, what is ACE measuring? So this is just a summation of ACE. So they say accumulated cyclone energy. ACE is a metric used by various agencies to express the energy used by a tropical cyclone during its lifetime. The calculation takes a tropical cyclone's maximum sustained winds every 6 hours and multiplies it by itself to generate the values. These values are then added together, which become a total for a storm, and can either be divided by 10,000 to make them more manageable, or added to other totals in order to work out a total for a particular group of storms. The calculation was originally created by William Gray, Bill Gray, of course, a famous forecaster, and his associates at Colorado State University as the Hurricane Destruction Potential Index, which took each hurricane's maximum sustained winds above 65 knots, 120 kilometers per hour, 75 miles per hour, and multiplied itself by every 6 hours. And it goes on a little bit more, but that's the general gist, but each one of these storms is giving its own individual amount of energy, and then overall you get an accumulated number for both the storms themselves and also for the overall season. And the classification for the season is below normal, near normal, above average, and hyperactive. So this has been updated by Shrine throughout this season. Thank you so much to Shrine Brian for keeping this page updated for accumulated cyclone energy ACE from 1851 to present. If we come down to the current year, we will see that there have been very little change since last week. We still remain above normal. This is going to be an above normal season for Atlantic hurricane activity for accumulated cyclone energy for ACE, and not hyperactive though. We fell short of that. The current number is standing at 145.10 up to the 20th of November. That is unchanged on last week when it was again at 145.10. The running average at this time of the year, at this point of season, should be 120.30. So we're still above average. It's above average hurricane season, but not hyperactive. And then again, that is after 21 tropical storms, which is a big number, 7 hurricanes and 4 majors. How that compares to running average, you'd expect 14 tropical storms, you'd expect 7 hurricanes, and you'd expect 3 majors. So we've had a lot of tropical storms. So a lot of these storms have been weak, haven't delivered all that much energy, and so that's the reason we're above average rather than hyperactive. In part 2 of this update, we are going to look at winters following above average hurricane seasons with our analogues and with reanalysis. So that will be coming up tomorrow, Monday, part 2 of this 12th Winter 2021-2022 update. Last thing we want to look at is Eurasian Snow cover, and then we're going to be done. Hope you enjoyed the video so far. Let's just go through these charts very quickly. This is how Eurasian Snow cover was looking when we did last week's 11th update. So we had the snow line to the west of Russia and across northern parts of Scandinavia. That's on the 12th of November. Let's have a look at the latest. So there it is. We've pushed the snow line pretty much now to the Russian-European border, just there. And we have increased snow cover again across Scandinavia. So there we see it. That's last week. That's this week. There has been an increase in snow across Scandinavia and particularly again across Russia. Let's shut that down. And we'll compare to the last few years as of the 19th of November. So that's 9th November 2021. Let's have a look at last year. This is 2020. So we are doing better for snow cover this year than at the same point in 2020 for both Russia and also for Scandinavia. We are doing better for Russian snow cover this year than 2019, probably quite closely matched for Scandinavia. We're doing much better for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover this year than in 2018. We are doing better for Russian snow cover than 2017, but probably a little bit down on Scandinavian snow cover at this point in 2017. We're on a par probably with Russian snow cover, maybe a little bit less compared to 2016, and quite closely matched for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2015. We are very close to 2015 for Russian snow cover, probably a little bit down, or quite closely matched, really, I think, for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2014. We are doing better for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover at this point than we was in 2014. We're also doing better than 2013 for both Scandinavian, Russian snow cover, and we're doing better than 2012 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We are doing better than 2011, way better than 2011 for Scandinavian snow cover, and probably a little bit up for Russian snow cover as well. We're a little bit behind for Scandinavian snow cover, or we're quite a bit behind for Scandinavian snow cover compared to 2010, but we're ahead for Russian snow cover. That is 2009. We're ahead of 2009 for Russian snow cover, and probably quite close, actually, for Scandinavian snow cover, maybe even a little bit ahead. That's 2008. We're well ahead of 2008 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2007. Now we're behind 2007 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover at this point of the year. That's 2006. We're probably quite closely matched to 2006 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2005. We are ahead of 2005 for Russian and also for Scandinavian snow cover. We're doing much better 2005. That's 2004. We're doing better than 2004 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That is 2003. We're probably a little bit behind 2003 for Russian snow cover, but a little bit ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2002. We're behind 2002 for Scandinavian snow cover, but ahead for Russian snow cover. That's 2001. We're behind 2001 for Russian snow cover, but probably ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That is 2000, which we are behind for both Russian and... We're ahead of 2000 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. We're behind 1999 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. Notice quite a few of these years had already pushed the snow well into Europe. Wow. And 1998, we're behind 1998 for Russian snow cover. What about Scandinavia? Probably quite closely matched to Scandinavia. We'll just go back even further than that. We won't compare each year, so just keep that at the back of your mind, how it looks. Now, with this from Rutgers Snowdash, you've got to turn your head to the side or maybe stand on your head. But that's 1997. So I reckon we're behind 1997 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover now. That's 1996. We're ahead of 1996 for Russian snow cover, probably behind the Scandinavia. That's 1995. We're probably a little bit ahead of 1995 for Russian snow cover, but behind for Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1994. We're probably quite closely matched to that one for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1993. We're behind 1993 for Russian snow cover, but ahead for Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1992. We're probably a little bit behind for 1992 for Scandinavian snow cover, a little bit behind for Russian too. That's 1991. Probably quite close to Russian snow cover, maybe a little bit ahead, and probably a little bit ahead for Scandinavian snow cover as well, maybe. That's 1990. We're ahead of 1990 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. Let's go through. That's 1989. We're behind 1989 for Russian snow cover, probably quite close to match Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1988. We're ahead of 1988 for Scandinavian snow cover, but behind for Russian snow cover. That's 1987. Which we are probably behind for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1986. We're ahead of 1986 for Russian snow cover and also for Scandinavian snow cover too. That is 1985. We're behind 1985 for Russian snow cover, probably quite close to match Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1984, which we are ahead of for Russian snow cover, and I think a little bit ahead of for Scandinavian snow cover as well. Wow. That's 1983. We are, what do you think about that? We're behind 1983 for Russian snow cover, and quite close to match Scandinavian snow cover, I would have thought. That's 1982. We're ahead of 1982 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1981. Probably quite closely matched to 1981 for Russian snow cover, a little bit behind Scandinavia. That's 1980. A little bit ahead of 1980 for Russian snow cover, probably quite closely matched to Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1979. We're ahead of 1979 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We're also ahead of 1978 for Russian snow cover. Wow, how surprising is that? Probably quite close to match again for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1977, which we are probably on a par with for Russian snow cover probably on a par with the Scandinavian snow cover as well. That's 1976. We're probably on a par with that year, maybe a little bit ahead actually for Russian snow cover, maybe a little bit behind the Scandinavian snow cover, not sure. That's 1975. We are ahead of 1975 for Russian snow cover, quite closely matched for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1974. We're behind 1974 for Scandinavian snow cover, but ahead for Russian snow cover. That's 1973, which we are ahead of for Russian snow cover just, and probably quite close to Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1972. We're behind 1972 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We're also behind 1971 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover, and 1970 behind that year for Russian Scandinavian snow cover. 1969, we are probably a little bit ahead of 1969 for Russian snow cover. In terms of Scandinavian snow cover, probably a little bit behind or quite closely matched. 1968, we're behind 1968 for Russian snow cover, and also Scandinavian snow cover. 1967, looks like that. We're ahead of 1967 for Scandinavian snow cover, probably a little bit behind for Russian snow cover. And then finally, 1966, we are probably a little bit ahead of 1966 for both Russian and also Scandinavian snow cover. That's it. We're done, everyone. Now, in part 2, how long have we talked for? 53 minutes, on a par with most of the other videos that we've done lately. So in part 2 of this 12th Winter 2021-2022 update, not only are we going to look at hurricanes data, we will look at Eurasian snow cover as well. We're going to look at the top 20 biggest average to above average years for Eurasian snow cover in the month of October and the winters that follow them. So hurricanes and Eurasian snow cover data and analogues to come in part 2 of this epic 12th Winter 2021-2022 update. And that's it. So, part 2 tomorrow at 6 p.m. The 13th and final winter update will be released next week in 2 parts. Part 1, part 2, Sunday and Monday. And then, as I say, that will be the end of our journey, and all that will remain then will be to release our winter forecast on the 2nd of December. What a journey it's been, but we've still got 1.5 updates to go. I shall see you later on for our live stream. Don't forget the Christmas update being released shortly as well. But for part 1 of the 12th Winter 2021-2022 update at nearly 55 minutes, that's all for now. And thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.